Everything's ready to take home today. Plywood, Minnesota. We have great savings for your home.
My mom knows a good deal.
My mom knows a good deal when she sees one.
Getting a good value for my family's money is important.
For a 95-cent deposit, Kmart's professional photographer captures my child's personality, and the total package price is only $12.95. That's one good reason for Kmart portraits.
And she loves me.
Thursday through Monday at St. Paul Kmart's east of the Mississippi River.
KSTP-TV, St. Paul, Minneapolis, Channel 5.
Live from the St. Paul Civic Center Arena. It's the 1982 Minnesota State High School Hockey Tournament pregame show. Now, here's Bob Bruce.
Hello again, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Bob Bruce, and welcome to Minnesota Mania. That's special March Madness known as the Minnesota State High School Hockey Tournament. KSTP Television will be on the air all of this afternoon, again tonight, tomorrow night, then Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening, bringing you all of the excitement of the 1982 Minnesota State High School Hockey Tournament. Now, here's a look at what you can expect to see over the next 3 days. The first game of the tournament has first-timer Rochester Mayo of Section 1 facing Section 6 representative Edina. The second game has defending champion Bloomington Jefferson, the only team to return from last year's tournament, taking on East Grand Forks, who at 21-2 has the best overall season record of the teams here in the tournament. Tonight, the opening game of the evening bracket finds Section 4 champion Henry Sibley facing the Blue Jackets of Hibbing, ranked number 1 prior to this tournament, who finally cracked Grand Rapids' 8-year stranglehold on that title. And in the nightcap, it's David against Goliath. First-timer Cloquet against another first-time team, White Bear Mariner, but the size difference between those teams, dramatic. Mariner very big, Cloquet very small but fast. Those are the matchups. We'll be back in a minute to look at how those 8 teams arrived here at the 1982 Minnesota State High School Hockey Tournament right after this.
You'll get 40 to 60% off on hundreds of cross-country skis and boots at North Country's Once in a Blue Moon ski sale. Even bigger discounts on used and rental equipment. Biggest sale in 10 years on knickers, sweaters, and jackets. Blue Moon sale starts Tuesday and closes out Thursday. Sale on a first-come, first-served basis on this closeout of top-quality merchandise. Buy for now or next season at famous North Country Ski. Cross-country specialist, 1.5 miles east of 494 on I-94, East St. Paul.
Lee was the healthiest child you ever saw. And all of a sudden, here comes the leukemia, just out of the clear blue sky.
We're drinking milk and eating meat, you know, that has virus particles.
That conceivably could cause leukemia?
That's right.
New studies show a virus in dairy cows may cause leukemia in man. This is Dr. Michael Breen. Watch this special assignment tonight at 10 on Eyewitness News.
Next on Entertainment Tonight, Oscar winner Glenda Jackson.
In England, it is possible to fail, and you aren't automatically struck off everybody's lists.
And Gene Hackman reveals a lifelong dream.
Something I really have to do before it's all over is go back and do the straight play that I've always wanted to do.
Plus, special guest Donna Dixon on the next Entertainment Tonight.
Thursday at 6:30 on Channel 5.
Hello. I'd like to talk to you about your taxes. Under President Reagan's leadership, Congress has passed the largest tax cuts for working Americans in nearly 20 years. Next year, the average family will pay about $400 less in federal income taxes. I'm asking you to save and invest your tax cut money. There are many ways to save. So why don't you put your tax cut dollars to work building a strong American economy? You'll be doing yourself and your country a big favor. Thank you.
Well, they've opened the doors here at the Civic Center. The fans are starting to file in, and we're about 25 minutes away from the start of today's first game. 8 teams will begin play here today, 2 of those in the afternoon session, and of course 2 more tonight. In the opening game, a newcomer from Section 1 faces a restructured old-timer from Section 6. Here's Channel 5 sports reporter Larry Burnett.
Well, Bob, the tournament is going to start off with a brand new look because a brand new team is in. Rochester Mayo comes in representing Section 1. You know, they used to be Rochester Mayo, the other team in Rochester, but this year they are Rochester Mayo, the team in Rochester, the only team in Rochester going into the state championships. They reached those championships last weekend by defeating another team making a first-time bid to get to the tournament, Burnsville. In fact, Burnsville opened the scoring so quickly, you'd have thought they were the team destined for St. Paul. It took only 16 seconds for Todd Okerlund to slide the puck to sophomore Todd Skime, who beat Mayo goalie John McCauley. But midway through the first period, Mayo regrouped, and Doug Wick, a sophomore winger, scored the first of 2 goals for the Spartans to tie it at 1. And Brad Johnson gave Mayo the lead for good before the period ended when he fought off Burnsville's Dave McNulty to label a shot for the upper right corner. Burnsville started the second period as it had the first, Skime scoring his second, and Burnsville's only other goal with a 40-foot shot. But that 2-goal tie lasted about 3 minutes when Wick scored his second goal of the game. Later in the third period, Pete Williams added this insurance goal, so Rochester Mayo has a berth in the state hockey tournament for the very first time. Are they ready for tournament-level action?
I never know with these guys. They're peaking early in the year, middle of the year, who knows. But if they play like this, in the tournament, we're going to give everybody a battle.
How do you think you'll fare against either Edina or Wayzata?
I don't know. Edina beat us 6-2 earlier. They've got a super club. We're just going to have to play good hockey. I don't know.
Well, ready or not, Mayo has not drawn the easiest opponent of the tournament. They'll be facing perennial powerhouse Edina and doing it in the supercharged atmosphere of the tournament's opening game. If Edina treats Mayo the way it treated Wayzata in the Section 6 championship game last Saturday, Mayo will be glad it has a clinic to go home to. Edina buried Wayzata 8-1, the most lopsided finish in any section final. Perhaps it was justified. The Hornets finished number 1 in the Associated Press rankings of high school teams. Edina already had a 3-1 lead in the second period when they decided to put things on ice. Look at what happened in a 5-minute span. First, Mike DeVoe scored with help from Dan Karrow and Wally Chapman to make it 4-1. Then an unassisted goal by Chapman. Then another by senior center Mike McCarthy. That gave Edina a 5-goal lead, and by high school rule, that lead required the game be played with running time in the third period. In the third period, Edina scored 2 more goals. Now, since Edina East closed last year and Edina West became simply Edina High, Willard Ikola became the public school's head coach. How does he view his consolidated team and the 11th appearance by an Edina team in the tournament?
We have 5 boys that played with Edina West for Coach Larson last year, and those kids are coming back. The other 13 have not been in the state tournament, but those 5 kids from West, they certainly give us the backbone to our team, and you need that experience, especially in a short tournament like the state hockey tournament.
Well, that's today's first matchup, a tournament newcomer against a tournament veteran. And now for the second afternoon game, here's Ed Karrow in Thief River Falls.
One of the teams seeded in the second game of the afternoon bracket of the State High School Hockey Tournament came from Section 8. And that titleist was decided last week here at Thief River Falls, where Bemidji took on East Grand Forks.
When the game opened, it looked like Bemidji had the upper hand. They buzzed Green Wave goalie Todd Christensen repeatedly. But it was East Grand that scored first. 9 minutes into the first period, Tim Mishler assisted on this goal by Jim Derrick for the early lead. But less than 2 minutes later, the Lumberjacks started grinding their own axe. Kevin Church scored to square the game, and the tie held through the end of the first period. In the second, the game slowed. Both teams playing a cautious, tentative game, except Mishler getting a stick on a free puck just after his team was denied a goal on a power play. The Green Wave was up 2-1. In the third period, Bemidji was getting desperate, and they moved in hard on Christensen but couldn't convert. On the other end of the rink, Bemidji's Brian Grand was fighting hard, making great saves to keep the Lumberjacks in it. But finally, they pulled Grand for an extra attacker, and Mishler drilled the puck into an empty Lumberjack net for the 3-1 win, and East Grand Forks returned to the tournament after appearing in 80 and sitting out in 81.
I think we can have a good showing. You know, we're going to go down there and play our game, and hopefully things will work out for us. We're going to give it our best, and we're very happy to be there.
Got to wonder just how very happy East Grand Forks was, though, when they learned they'd open against the defending state champion. Bloomington Jefferson became the repeat Section 5 titleist at Met Center last Saturday, but they had to overcome their own jitters and an emotional and talented Bloomington Lincoln team, a school and a hockey program in its last year of existence. So it was that Lincoln scored the first goal of the game, winger Larry Lehman unassisted, and the second. In the second period, Tom Gertis feeding Mike Murphy for a 2-goal lead. Jefferson might have started to doubt itself at that point, but they didn't. And a relentless hounding of the puck paid off late in the second. Steve Bianchi, one of the Jags' senior tri-captains, scored at 13:50 to reduce the Jefferson deficit to 1. In the third, the Jaguars started to roll a little. Terry Sullivan got the goal that put them back to scratch, tied at 2. Then Lincoln's Dan Daggett put the Bears ahead again. But what followed was a 2-minute, 14-second explosion in which Bianchi scored again, and Lee Fjellman scored the game winner and an insurance goal to send Jefferson back to St. Paul to defend its state title. The Jaguars have been hounded all year with the question, will you repeat? Now they're back, and they may finally be able to relax and play their game.
I hope so. You know, we've been there before, and these kids have been there. Robbie and Steve have been there 3 consecutive years. I hope so.
So that wraps up the afternoon pairings for today's first round of the tournament. Let's go back to Bob Bruce.
Well, a rookie team, a veteran team, a defending champion, and a relatively new entrant. I'll tell you, we're going to have some exciting games this afternoon. We'll check the nighttime schedule in just a moment.
Checkmate by Good Sports. Get the ultimate in mid-body protection. Thighs, kidneys, and hips fully protected by lightweight Checkmate with the fit you can customize. Good Sports shoulder pads mean super protection of the AC joint, sternum, and collarbone. Join the hockey revolution with Good Sports, the ultimate in protection. Get Checkmate and all the other great equipment from Good Sports. Good Sports hockey equipment is available at better sporting goods stores everywhere.
It's been a tradition for nearly 100 years. From the babe right up to today's players, spring means one thing, a time to get into shape for the upcoming baseball season. This is Bob Bruce. The Twins move to the new Metrodome in just a few weeks with their youngest team ever. How good will they be? Who are these young players? Starting Monday, we'll find out in a special series of reports from the Twins spring training camp in Orlando, Florida. Watch spring training starting Monday at 6 and 10 on Eyewitness News.
From the old Cowtown Museum in Wichita, Kansas, and all across the Midwest, Country Day brings you closer to the country. Closer to agriculture with farm marketing and production pointers on Ag Report. Closer to rural living with homespun information and homegrown facts cooking right from your own kitchen. And closer to your friends and neighbors in the heart of America with reporters shooting the breeze over a back fence that stretches clear across the nation. So come closer to the country with Country Day weekday mornings on this station.
I'm Diana Nyad, and I hold the world record for the longest swim in history, from the Bahamas to Florida, 89 miles. You don't have to swim 89 miles to help the Red Cross. You can swim once across the pool, twice, or as many times as you can make it. I think the Red Cross puts on the most important water safety programs in this country, and you can help by calling your local chapter and joining the Swim Across. This is a public service announcement brought to you by Channel 5.
Well, we have a team making its 5th state tournament appearance, another making its 6th, and 2 more rookie teams slotted into this evening's opening round action of today's tournament. To find out how they got here, let's find out more about those teams from Robb Leer.
The Section 7 berth in this year's state tournament was decided between 2 northern Minnesota backyard rivals, Hibbing and Grand Rapids, here at the old Memorial Auditorium in Hibbing. All seats had been sold for this showdown weeks ago. After all, this date and time in March has become an annual send-off celebration for the Grand Rapids hockey fan since the early 70s. But this year, the home team Hibbing had different ideas and a more meaningful motive. Their coach, George Perpich, had promised this trip across the ice was going to be his last. From the outset, Hibbing was the team of opportunity. Grand Rapids, a team in trouble. The perennial Section 7 power of the 70s obviously lacked that offensive and defensive threat that had carried them to 8 state tournament berths in a row. Hibbing would score 5 goals this night, a pair by Greg Hooper, one by his brother Gary. Hockey at Hibbing has become somewhat of a family affair that needed some pregame convincing to end this Rapids reign.
Finally, someone had to do it, and I'm sure glad we did.
For Coach George Perpich, a sweet victory and rewarding way to go out on top.
Now you go in there as the coaching veteran. Everybody's going to be looking for you.
Oh, I know that.
You're going to show them a few tricks.
I don't know whether I'll show them any tricks. I think it's too late to change now.
That kind of old but reliable approach will be on the line against the winner of Section 4. As predictable as the overflow crowd that jammed into the St. Paul Auditorium last Friday night to watch the finals of this Section 4 championship game between South St. Paul and conference foe Henry Sibley, the game script itself that it followed, an old-fashioned St. Paul shootout. Goals were scored this night from every conceivable angle by both sides. Defending champ South St. Paul scoring first, Henry Sibley rebounding to tie 1-1 at the end of 1, 3-3 by the end of 2. By trading goals and blows all night long, you sense just how important this section's off-season bragging rights really are. At the outset of the third period, Sibley was hot. Paul Kaiser dribbled one in for the lead. Then 2 minutes later, Mason Lees shuffles one in for insurance, a policy Sibley would cash in before game's end in order to win. South St. Paul's Phil Housley, the senior sensation headed for stardom, was able to pull the Packers back within a goal with 5 minutes to play, but that was as close as the Packers would get. An open net goal clinched for Sibley and coach Joe Zivick a rewarding trip to the tournament, Sibley's first since 1976.
They haven't been there for 6 years, and the kids are just going to rise to the occasion and they're going to give everything they've got. I think we're just going to be a hustling club, and that's about it. We're nothing fancy. We get the job done, though.
Henry Sibley and Hibbing in the evening bracket's opening game. For the day's final matchup, let's go to Section 3 and Ed Karrow.
24 hours later, in the same jam-packed St. Paul Auditorium, it was deja vu in the Section 3 championship game from last year. The combatants were the same, White Bear Mariner and North St. Paul. But the outcome was mirror image. This time it was the Dolphins who prevailed in what turned into a lopsided victory. The first period ended tied at 1, but the second was riddled with Mariner goals. The period started and ended with goals by senior Don Baker. This first one about 3.5 minutes into the period. The second, less than a minute later, came from the stick of senior winger Bucky Holton. And less than 4 minutes after that, center Jeff Parker scored his second of 2 goals after opening the game scoring. And finally, Baker scored his second of the second period, and there was no catching them after that. It's been a long wait for Mariner. Coach Tom Simpson is glad that wait is finally over.
Yes, it is, but basically there are a lot of the same kids back from the team that lost in the finals, and we have a lot of seniors just like North did, and really a super job. I'm really pleased for them.
They seem so much more seasoned and so much more disciplined. They're really a good unit.
Well, it's another year of playing 20-some games, and that's the main difference right there, and these kids have really worked hard for it, and they made it.
Although Mariner is a first-time team in the tournament, they won't be alone in that regard. Their first-round opponent, Cloquet, is also a first-timer, and they earned their trip to St. Paul at Duluth, and Robb Leer was there.
The Section 2 title game was prematurely billed as what could have been a first for Cloquet was inevitably going to be before day's end for Coon Rapids. Corey Millen, Cloquet's ticket to the tournament, was wearing a cast, not his skates on game day, and this absence from the lineup was supposed to lead to the demise of the Lumberjacks. The only problem is someone forgot to get the message to Millen's teammates. Coon Rapids scored first. Ernie Vargas left unattended in front of the Cloquet goal. But from then on, that's the only mistake the clever Lumberjacks would make. Clever because their goals were scored at a time Coon Rapids might have thought they were doing their job. Witness Pat Messonaire's scoring play. Or Marty Catola's power play goal from the point. Cloquet, even without Millen, was playing like a team possessed and beat Coon Rapids 4-2. For Cloquet coach Bill Kennedy, this unexpected victory was a dream come true.
super darling small school business, and I think everyone, you know, you've got good enough teams to get there, but something always happens, you know, that's Cinderella garbage, and we kind of put it to our kids that, you know, you're just not tough enough. If you want to get there, you got to be a tad mean.
Once upon a time, Notre Dame won one for the Gipper. In 1982, Cloquet won one for their captain, Corey Mellon, a victory that community will never forget. From the Section 2 hockey finals in Duluth, let's go back to the Civic Center in St. Paul and Bob Bruce.
There you have it, the opening day lineup of this 1982 Minnesota State High School Hockey Tournament. We've got Rochester Mayo and Edina. Those two teams will be taking the ice in just a few moments. Then we've got defending champion Bloomington Jefferson against East Grand Forks. Tonight, of course, it's Henry Sibley meeting Hibbing, a very tough team, and Cloquet, what a story they've been, taking on fellow newcomer White Bear Mariner. Now, we've got much more for you from the St. Paul Civic Center, and we'll have it for you in just a moment.
Government. It's impersonal, imperfect, and always expensive. Yet your government is constantly affecting your life and forever spending your money. That's why at Eyewitness News, you've got government specialist Marcia Fleur covering this crucial part of your life for you. Marcia Fleur brings government into focus, keeping you informed on where your tax dollar is going and how your money is spent. Government specialist Marcia Fleur on Eyewitness News. The news leader with new ideas on Channel 5.
Of all of the items America gets from a foreign country, this is one of the most precious. Nearly 70% of North America's wild ducks are born in Canada. But those nesting areas are becoming depleted. If they disappear, so will our ducks. Ducks Unlimited is working hard to preserve the prime nesting grounds for our duck population. Join Ducks Unlimited, because if ducks have no home, America will have no ducks.
Hello, I'm here with a couple of friends to tell you about a basketball game between the Minnesota Vikings and the St. Paul Police Department. The game is at St. Thomas College on Summit and Cretin on Saturday, April 3rd. Game time is 7 p.m. Tickets are $3.50 with all proceeds going to the Lafayette Youth Club. For ticket reservations, call 333-5577. Tickets will also be available at the door of St. Thomas College on the night of the game through local businesses and the Lafayette Youth Club.
Hi. I'm Bobby Smith of the Minnesota North Stars. Did you know that each year more Americans die from heart disease, stroke, and related disorders than all other causes of death combined? The American Heart Association Minnesota affiliate is working to control America's #1 killer. Your generous support will fund research efforts, public and professional education, and community service programs. The Minnesota Heart Association. We're fighting for your life.
We're back live at the St. Paul Civic Center. The stands are beginning to fill up, and Edina, a heavy favorite in this tournament, has just taken the ice. Rochester Mayo will be out in just moments for the start of today's action. You know, this is the toughest ticket in town. There's no doubt about that. That's why we're especially pleased to be bringing you all the exciting championship action of the Minnesota State High School Hockey Tournament right here on Channel 5. Broadcasting the tournament, definitely one of the most challenging things we do, and it also happens to be one of the most rewarding.
Televising the state hockey tournament isn't a simple operation. In fact, it takes a week just to set up the equipment that's needed to do the broadcast. For instance, we install nearly 2 miles of cable each time we do the tournament. That cable interconnects 11 color television cameras, which cover the 9 games we broadcast between this afternoon's opening session and the final game Saturday night. Those 11 cameras are only part of the story. Even though we do cover the tournament from ice level to about as high above it as you can get, those cameras also serve to provide replays of the action. And to be sure you don't miss anything, we've added a 3rd slow motion machine this year. Along with the cameras and tape machines come all of the technical gear necessary to use what those cameras are shooting, what replays are being recorded, and what tournament sounds and voices are being heard. And of course, all of this takes people. From Tom Hamper and Steve Hammergan, who produce and direct the game action from our remote bus, a control room on wheels, to Randy Trillinger, who's logging slow-mos. Ben Vogel, Tom Olson, and Greg Johnson, who see that those slow-mos get on the air. To Kathy Kramer, who does special project directing. To Chief Engineer George Merrill and Production Chief John Deegan, who pace around and worry a lot. But they really don't have to. Not when the coverage of this tournament is in the capable hands of such people as Maureen, Al, Tom, Kevin, and Denny. And that's just a few of the 50 folks needed every minute, every game for 3 days, bringing you the Minnesota State High School Hockey Tournament.
A clerical error, a young man.
Well, as you probably have gathered, you can have all the miles of cable you want and all the television cameras you want to put into this building, but it takes people to put on a great broadcast. Now, you've seen some of the ones that you normally will not see during our telecast. Now we'd like to introduce you to some of the people that you will see during our 3-day broadcast of this high school tournament. One of those that you'll be seeing throughout the 3 days, a very, very familiar face as a player, as a coach, as a general manager, as a former color commentator on broadcast of this tournament. We probably remember him most for inspiring the chant, "Lou, Lou," when he played for the Minnesota North Stars, a classic pose there. Louis played for the University of Minnesota, the U.S. Olympic team in '68, and is now general manager of the Minnesota North Stars, which under his leadership got to its first Stanley Cup final last season, and of course last night tied the New York Islanders 4-4. Louis, you've been here before. You know about the excitement of this tournament.
Well, it's a tremendous tournament, Bob. It's a great thrill for the players to participate, and I know the fans have always had a great time watching it.
And you always have some surprises that first day.
Well, anytime you've got a one-game tournament, you never know what's going to happen. Look at the Olympics, look at so many championships in the past in this tournament that have been decided. That's what makes it so interesting.
I know you're going to be interested in a lot of the players, not only from the standpoint of the broadcast, but also for future consideration, shall we say.
Well, this is a nice way to scout. There's probably 40 scouts here from teams all over the NHL, but I think I've got the best view from up here, and I can also watch the slow-mo replays.
Louis is going to be with us between periods and all through the games for expert analysis, of course. Well, it's great to have Lou on board for this year as our color commentary, as he has since we began these broadcasts. We have another old friend. Of course, most of you know him as the play-by-play voice of the Minnesota North Stars. He's, without a doubt, the best hockey broadcaster in the country. And Al Shaver, we're going to do it again. Here we go.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun, Bobby. It's 3 wild days, and I think we're going to see a great tournament this year, again, as we always have.
Well, and as I say, we'll probably have some surprises. Now, let's go to the rest of the members of our broadcast crew. First, let's go downstairs rinkside to Bob Utecht.
Well, here we are back for our 25th straight high school hockey tournament at the St. Paul Civic Center, and what fun it's going to be. We're going to be interviewing a lot of people, including Mark Pavlich's sister, Karrow, who just returned from a New York visit, and she'll be on between the 2 games. And then we're going to talk with Don Roberts later on today and find all the things out about the upcoming college East-West All-Star game, which happens on March the 29th. We're not going to pick any favorites today. We'll tell you that Jefferson High School is a block from our house, so you take it from there. All right, let's throw it over to Ed Karrow now, and we'll keep on rolling.
All right, Bob, and we're down here in our, what we like to call our basement interview area. Actually, it's down by the dressing rooms, where we'll be talking to winning coaches after each period, along with players who played an important part in winning these games all the way along the line until Saturday night in the championship. And we'll also be talking to a lot of other people about innovations in equipment, about what the Coaches Association is saying this year about 2-class tournaments and the like. And, of course, we've got another broadcast partner who's all over this place, really. Sometimes he's out in the seats, sometimes he's down in the sub-basement, sometimes he's up on the roof. Do you know where he is, Joe? We're supposed to introduce Robb Leer. We understood that maybe he'd be over by the concession.
Bird's eye view of the St. Paul Civic Center with Roger Greenan, the pilot in control of Skycam's helicopter this afternoon, as our custom will continue this year at the hockey tournament. Our mobile camera will allow us not only to roam inside the arena, but outside as well, and talk to those that make up the color and pageantry of this great hockey spectacle. And so, Bob, from 500 feet high above the arena, we can tell you that traffic is moving quite well in anticipation of this great event. So from Skycam's helicopter, let's go back to Bob Bruce in the broadcast booth.
Thank you, Rob. We're all ready. Edina versus Rochester Mayo, and we'll be back with the action of the 1982 Minnesota State High School Hockey Tournament right after station identification.
Hi, I'm Jim Peck.
And I'm Pam Ward. Join us on our next Twin Cities today and meet 2 of the stars from the hit TV series Happy Days.
Dr. William Nolan will be here to tell us why no medicine is completely safe.
And we'll explore a 20-room mansion occupied by University of Minnesota President C. Peter McGraw and his wife Diane. So join us at 9 a.m. right here on Channel 5.
all the news that's happening around the state and the world, you need time to listen to details, hear arguments, and decide for yourself how that news affects you. Eyewitness News at 5 gives you that chance with in-depth looks at specific issues like who's responsible for cleaning up hazardous waste sites, how can you cut your taxes, and why the rage over designer clothes for kids. Eyewitness News at 5 gives you extra insight into news you need to know. Eyewitness News at 5, from the news leader with new ideas on Channel 5.
Hi, I'm Bobby Smith of the Minnesota North Stars. Did you know that each year more Americans die from heart disease, stroke, and related disorders than all other causes of death combined? The American Heart Association Minnesota affiliate is working to control America's #1 killer. Your generous support will fund research efforts, public and professional education, and community service programs. The Minnesota Heart Association. We're fighting for your life.
KSTP-TV, St. Paul, Minneapolis.